Hello, everybody. Welcome to September's Roth IRA office hours. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, my bun looks a little crazy. I will fix that in a second. In the meantime, please let me know where you're tuning in from. If this is your first Roth IRA office hour, let me know. Let me know where you are tuning in from. Okay, let me also share my screen. I am in LA, California, and I'm tuning in from my office. This is my office at home. I'm curious to where all of you are tuning in from today. Denver, Colorado, Minneapolis, Minnesota. One of my very close friends just moved to Minnesota, and I'm a little sad about it. All right, let me make sure this is public view, present. All right, let's get this party started, everybody. So this is going to be recorded. I want to upload it to YouTube. These office hours are a reflection of the questions that you all submitted. So maybe your questions are going to change once you're in here. I want you to drop your questions at any time that you want in the chat. This is really a time to serve you completely. And I am just here to make sure.
In my studio, so I have it in my studio monitor. There are extra supplies in there in my studio. So
Okay, I want to make sure that everyone who's here today feels very confident moving forward with opening up their Roth IRA, funding their Roth IRA. And so this is truly a time for you to just get all your questions answered. With that said, a reminder that this presentation is for educational purposes only. Wealth para Todos LLC does not provide legal, accounting, or investment or tax advice. Please consult qualified professionals for guidance on your specific legal, tax, investment, or accounting obligations. I'm going to be answering all your questions. However, we are not in contract with each other. So right now, this is all educational. I'm Rita Soledad Fernandez Paulino. I'm assuming that all of you know me, but maybe you don't. I go by Soledad. I am a former public school math teacher, and I am now a money and self-care coach. I have a business called Wealth para Todos that focuses on helping Black and Indigenous people of color, women, and LGBTQ plus folk create a financial plan to retire early. I want all of us working because we want to, not because we have to. And I have this whole 10 stages of financial security that works people towards this 10th level where you're working because you want to, not because you have to. I have a new podcast that I launched this year in February. It's called the Wealth para Todos podcast. We release episodes every Sunday, and I would love for you to tune in. I am a Bankrate expert contributor. And so I write articles here for Bankrate. And you can see some of the articles that I've written in terms of how to borrow with confianza and 5 questions I ask clients before having them leverage debt to take a vacation. There's a bunch of articles here. So that is an additional resource for you. And I am on a personal journey to become work optional by the age of 47. I will be turning 39 very soon. And I decided to pursue early retirement at the age of 33. That's when I first learned about all this financial information. Prior to that, I did not know. It wasn't until I was 33 that I learned how to invest in the stock market. But the former teacher in me became pretty obsessed with making sure I did my part in spreading this information so that other people would also be able to increase their financial security. My life has changed so much since in the past few years as I've worked on increasing my financial security and pursuing becoming work optional. Even though I have PTSD, celiac disease, ADHD, I'm first gen, I'm a parent of 2 kids, I live in LA and it's very expensive. My financial trajectory has changed so much because I increased my financial literacy and I started to become very focused on figuring out what it would take for me to be able to max out retirement accounts and invest in the stock market so that I could eventually, very soon, to me, it feels very soon, at the age of 47, be able to work because I want to, not because I have to. And I'm so passionate about making sure just people know that this is possible. Because when I was 33 years old, I didn't even think that I could, like, if you would have told me, oh, so you're going to have a house and you're only going to work 25 hours a week and you are going to, be able to take vacations, but also have an emergency fund and support your loved ones. So if your brother or your mom or your mother-in-law, someone calls you and they need money, don't worry, you got them. Like if you would have told me that was going to be my reality, I would have been like, stop it. You're hurting my feelings, because it would have felt so unreal. And yet that's my life now. And that's why I'm so passionate about teaching you guys how to max out a Roth IRA, because learning that skill for myself just changed my financial trajectory. All right. This is about you. Okay. So 23 people signed up for Roth IRA office hours today. I don't think we're going to have all 23 of you show up live. Maybe you'll watch the replay, but this is what you guys shared with me. Okay. So 56% of you actually already have a Roth IRA. I've been hosting these Roth IRA office hours since June, and this has been like the greatest percentage. So yay about that. 34.7% of you do not have a Roth IRA, and 8.9% of you are not sure. And I'll just tell you right now, the way you'll find that out is you'll have to log into your brokerage firm, wherever your account is, and see what it says. Does it say taxable brokerage account? Does it say Roth IRA? Does it say 401k, 403b? Just look to see the type of account there, and that's how you'll find out. 83% of you have never maxed out a Roth IRA before, and 17% of you have. 50% of you have no interest in contributing to a Roth IRA for a partner or for someone else. 27.1% of you want to know how, but don't know how to do it. And 22.9% of you said, yes, you want to learn. So we got like 50% who also want to learn how to invest for a partner. When I opened up my Roth IRA, I maxed it out for myself and for my husband. Now, was it all my cash? No, but it was all my financial literacy. It was all my financial education, and I was the one who knew how to do it. Until this day, I'm still the one who manages all of our financial accounts. So when I say, do you want to, max out a Roth IRA for yourself and a loved one? It's like, you want to have that knowledge. Do you want to be able to support someone? Now, anyone in my family knows that they can come to me and I will help them be able to set that up within 10 minutes. It's so quick. And that's going to be true for everyone who's here today too. These are the questions that you submitted and that you said were like, hey, this is what I really, really want to know. We have a series of questions that are just like getting started questions, basic questions. Like, I don't even know what a Roth IRA is. How do I even get started? What should I know about contributions and investments? I have a Vanguard account and I need to choose an IRA, but I'm not sure which one to pick. How do I start one for me and my kids? I'm a Tia and I have nephews and the parents don't want to open up 529 accounts. How can I invest for them? Then there was questions regarding budgeting and prioritization. So how important is figuring out how much to invest in a Roth IRA for your budget? How do you, like, I have one, but I don't necessarily have the cash flow to keep investing in one. Should I be focusing on a Roth IRA or should I focus on my emergency fund and paying off high interest debt? So priorities there. And then we had questions regarding your retirement planning, like how much money do I need to even have at retirement? How do I estimate that number? Then more account management and mechanics in terms of switching from a traditional to a Roth, understanding the fidelity accounts, understanding whether you did your transfers correctly. And then finally, the last set of questions had to do with investment choices and growth. What kind of investments should you hold inside your Roth IRA? How do you know if you're doing the right ones? Am I getting the best out of my Roth IRA? So these are all your questions, and I created a presentation to answer those questions. So today we'll talk about why investing in a Roth IRA should be your priority, and should it be your top priority right now? Then we'll talk about investing in the stock market 101, how to open a Roth IRA, how to open up a Roth IRA for a loved one. And then you also just learn from other people's questions that you drop in the chat. A reminder, I know that I asked you to drop your top question, but if more questions come up on this call, you make sure you drop them in the chat. Let's really make sure that you're understanding everything that I'm saying. All right, so first, why investing in a Roth IRA is important, okay? Why it should be a priority. Compound growth. Now, I'm a former public school math teacher, and I know from when I was a teacher, not all my students loved math. And maybe that is true for you too. So I'm just going to explain a little bit about what this compound growth means. When you're investing money in a Roth IRA, your contributions, what you're putting inside that account, and then you're buying investments like target date funds, ETFs, REITs, stocks, bonds, etc. Those investments can earn dividends. Dividends is when they pay you out like every quarter. Interest and capital gains. Capital gains is like when you sell the investments and the value of the stock has gone up, and now you've earned some money. Instead of pulling that growth out, right? So as the value increases, you keep that money inside and you reinvest it. And that means that your original contributions, whether that's like $100, okay, that $100 grows to like $102. But then that $2 grows too. So then that 102 becomes like 104, and then the 104 becomes 108, and then it's 116, and then it's 132, right? It stays in there. And so it's growing, and your money starts earning money. Like the money that you have in your Roth IRA is earning you money while you're asleep. Your returns are earning returns. And so that $100 over time can compound to a significant amount. One of the examples I have here is, let's say that you invest $6,000 every single year from the ages of 25 to 35 for 10 years. I always say that I wish I knew about Roth IRAs sooner, because I started working at the age of 12, and I had a job that was like, I was paying taxes by the age of 16. If I knew about Roth IRAs back then I could have been investing for at least 10 years, right? I didn't start investing until the age of 23 when I became a teacher. Well, that's to say, in this example, you're investing for 10 years, $6,000 every single year. Well, in total, you have contributed $60,000. But then you stop contributing. After 35, you're like, oh, no, now I'm worried on buying a house. Now I'm focusing on buying a car. Now I'm having kids, or I'm paying for a wedding. And so you just stop investing completely, and you leave that money in there, that $60,000 that you had contributed. And then you look at it again at 65, assuming that you have an average rate of return of 7%. That's $60,000. In 30 years, will compound and grow to over $600,000. And when it's inside of a Roth IRA, it's all tax-free. Now, key things here is that you're going to have to make sure that you have, that you're investing this money in a Roth IRA, and that you're also choosing investments that have at least a 7% rate of return. Okay, so this is the one thing why I'm saying, like, oh, investing in a Roth IRA should be a priority, because you want your money making you money while you are living your life. And it's going to grow, and it's going to be tax-free. This is $600,000 that you'll never have to pay taxes on. And that means, I already talked about this, how it's growing tax-free. The withdrawals are tax-free. And the money that you're putting in there, like, think about everything you love doing right now, right? If you love going to the movies, if you love traveling, if you love going to concerts, whatever you enjoy doing right now, you're going to want to do it later on too. And it will be so nice to be able to pay for all those things with tax-free money. Also, a Roth IRA. Now, there's a lot of different investment accounts. You can invest, some of you are probably already investing in an employer retirement account, like a 401k or a 403b. Some of you probably have taxable brokerage accounts too. But the nice thing about a Roth IRA, when it comes to retirement accounts, is there's no forced withdrawals. There's something called required minimum distributions, RMDs. And a Roth IRA doesn't have that. Many other accounts, when you reach a certain age, they tell you, hey, you need to start pulling out this money. This account, they're not saying you have to pull out the money, which means that it is a great tool to leave to loved ones, right? As a way to like create generational wealth. So again, more travel. And my favorite reason, well, I really like the fact that it grows tax-free and that you pull out the money at tax-free. I really like that. But why I ride hard for Roth IRAs, and I'm going to always be telling people, hey, learn about investing in a Roth IRA, is because you can pull out the money from this account, your contributions, not the earnings, but you can pull out the contributions at any time without penalty. So if we go back to this example, if you contributed $60,000 over 10 years, and then you're like 36 years old, you could take out the $60,000 and there will be no penalty for you. And then the money that was already has grown, the interest, the capital gains, that will continue to be in your Roth IRA and that will continue to grow. So that a Roth IRA provides a level of flexibility that we don't see in other types of investment accounts. All right, let me see if you guys got questions. Remember, if I'm saying anything that you're like, say that again, I don't understand it, you drop that in the chat. This is truly a time for you to feel a lot more confident. For those of you who are learning about a Roth IRA for the first time right now, I'm hoping these 2 slides have already started getting you thinking of like, okay, I like the idea of compound growth. I love the idea of tax-free money. I love the flexibility that comes with being able to pull out the money from this account at any time without penalty. I had a client who she decided to take a sabbatical and move to Barbados and spend a year there. And she pulled money from her Roth IRA, the money that she had been contributing, to help cover those expenses. No penalty. That was just something she was able to do. Okay. All right. So now that hopefully you guys are all like, yes, I want to be investing in a Roth IRA, the next thing is like, should this be your top priority right now? And I would say first, I want you to be checking the MIT living wage calculator to see if you're earning enough to cover your basic needs where you live. I'm a money and self-care coach, right? So clients come to me and a lot of times they'll be like, it's because I need to learn how to budget. It's because I don't know how to budget. And then when I look at this and I'm like, oh, okay, you're in Minnesota, and let's say that you live in Swift County and you're making $55,000 a year. Well, Swift County, if you are an adult with a child, you need to be making at least $69,635 to have a living wage there. And this is just like calculate. I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the chat because I want you all to be able to know, like, how do you currently, I thought this entire time you guys weren't answering. Okay, you do guys have questions in here. For some reason, I wasn't seeing the chat until now. So sorry about that, y'all. You guys are asking questions that I'm not answering now. Okay, the living wage calculator is a good place to see whether you have a spending problem. Most of you do not, or an income problem. When I looked at the living wage calculator back when I was 33 years old, I was living in Los Angeles, still live in LA, but I was in the city. Both my husband and I were working and we had 2 kids. And if you look at that here, so 2 adults working with 2 kids, we needed to have a combined income of $139,000. At that time, husband and I together with our jobs made around 120. We had we're living below, so we were making less than $19,000 that we needed in order to be living in LA with 2 kids. I was convinced it's because, I spend too much money. I shop too much. I'm always buying things from the frutero, or I cannot walk outside without wanting to get the kids a little treat. When in reality, we were doing a really good job of stretching a dollar. We weren't necessarily able to go on these vacations all the time, but we weren't, we didn't have credit card debt, right? We had our student loan debt still at that time, but we didn't have credit card debt. And we also weren't investing enough for retirement. And obviously we couldn't because we weren't making enough money based on where we lived and what our dependents were. So this is a good place to start. Understand whether you're making enough money. All right, let me look at these questions real quick. Okay, how do you know the rate of return of the Roth IRA once selected? I use Charles Schwab for my IRA. So your rate of return is going to be based on what your investments are. We'll go into that when we talk about step 4 of investing in the stock market. Yes, Vicky says that she has a 401k, a taxable brokerage account, and a Roth IRA. And I imagine you also have a high yield savings account. Those are the 4 accounts that I recommend every first-gen wealth builder have. Is a Roth IRA the same as a mutual fund? No. So a Roth IRA is the account. The mutual fund is what you buy to go inside of the account. Is there a penalty for taking out money that grows in a Roth IRA? Yes, there is. And they'll get taxed. And that's true of any type of retirement account too. But in a Roth IRA, you can only pull out the contributions without penalty. If there's any earnings, you will get penalized. Usually it's, I want to say it's like 20%. And then also you have to pay taxes on it. It counts as additional income. Jessica asks, are these benefits different from a Roth 403B or a Roth 403B? You can also pull out the contributions at any time. A Roth 403B will allow you to invest more money. So the maximum that you can contribute to a Roth IRA in 2025 is $7,000 if you're under the age of 50. A Roth 403B, you can contribute up to $23,500. Jennifer says, like, so it's kind of like thinking about your Roth IRA as a savings account to some degree, but you cannot take out the amount that has been growing on the dividends and investments. That is a wonderful summary of it. So for a single person with no kids, you need to make at least $57,000 per year. I don't have your name on here, so I'm just going to call you iPhone 19 because that's the name that's showing up here. It depends where you live. Okay. If you are in Los Angeles as well, and you are one adult with no kids, the amount that you would need to be making is, hi Marvin. Okay. You'll need to be making $60,000 before taxes. Okay. You are in LA. Yeah. So yeah, you need to be making before taxes, 60,000, after taxes, 50,000. However, this is just basic necessities. This does not include savings. This does not include traveling. This does not include going to Puerto Rico and watching Bad Bunny or going to see him in Mexico City. Like, this does not include that. This does not include investing for retirement. This is just a living wage. And I love sharing this with people because a lot of times that we make more money as first-gen wealth builders than our parents ever did. And so we think like, oh, we make good money. I thought I made good money. I was a teacher. You know, I had a master's from NYU. I thought I was making good money, but I was not making good money for 2 kids living in Los Angeles. And so husband and I had to really work on increasing our income. Okay. Good. What's up with the Roth 401k or traditional IRA and a Roth IRA? Oh my goodness. Yes, Vicky. I remember when she was the one taking care of so many adults. I do this as Vicky's a former client of mine. And when I'm working with my clients, they can make good money, but if you're making good money with a lot of dependents and living in an expensive area, it is a lot of money. It's like, it becomes very expensive, right? And so it's hard. It's hard to have more than enough money to be investing. All right. So first, you have to check that. If you check that and you see based on your location, where you're living, your income, your number of dependents, if you're not earning enough right now to cover your basic needs, then obviously your Roth IRA contributions is not going to be the top priority. We're going to want you to focus on increasing your income. If you're still relying on debt or you can't cover your essentials, When I say essentials, I'm talking about your fixed expenses, variable expenses, proactive self-care expenses, and minimum debt payments. If you're still in the early stages of financial security, and I have this whole doc here that I will share with you about my 10 stages of financial security. Okay, these are the 10 stages of financial security. In these first few stages, you're focused on making sure that you maintain a checking account buffer. That means 5 to 25% of your monthly expenses are in your checking account, and that becomes your new zero. So if 25% of your monthly expenses is $1,000, then you keep that $1,000 in that checking account. And when you see that your checking account has 1,100, you think, oh, I only have $100 to spend. Okay. Building a checking account buffer is the gateway to eventually also being able to build savings and sinking funds. So that is a stage 3 of financial security. Stage 4 is that you can save at least 1 month of income in a high yield savings account or 1 month of expenses in a high yield savings account. Then we go into the 5th stage of financial security where you're working on your sinking funds. This is money that you know you're going to spend. We have the holidays coming up. So if you're somebody who loves buying presents or decorating your home for the holidays, wearing costumes for Halloween, all of that stuff, you know that's going to come up. We have to make sure that you're saving for it. If you like to celebrate your birthday big, that's something that you know is going to come up. You have to save for it. If you know you're going to need to buy a car soon, that's something that you save for, poco poco, and we save for those things in a sinking fund. We keep those sinking funds in a high yield savings account. In the 6th stage, once you have your checking account buffer, your 1 month of expenses, some sinking funds set up, now, it doesn't mean that they need to be fully in place, but you're making progress on those. Then we start working on sending extra payments towards your high interest debt. High interest debt is anything above 9%. All here, these are all the early stages of financial security, where we start working on investing more than 5%. 15%, and even the amount that you need to retire when you want is in these higher levels of financial security. So when one of you asked me like, hey, what should I prioritize? And your exact question was, let's pull it up. You said, do I start an emergency first or open a Roth IRA at work? I already have a 401a at work, and my job matches 5%. That's good. We always take our match no matter what, and we always invest enough to get our full match. I also have high interest debt, so I'm not sure if I should do it all as much as I can hold off on the Roth IRA. The priority does have to be to build that checking account buffer, build that 1 month of savings, start building your sinking funds, create a plan, understand how long it's going to take for you to pay off your high interest debt, whether that's going to be 3 years or 5 years, but create a plan for that. Then we can start talking about like, okay, I'm going to take some extra cash flow and also be putting money in a Roth IRA. A Roth, most investments, which we'll get into, have a rate of return. A good rate of return, okay, it's going to be somewhere between 7 and 10%. If your credit cards have an interest rate above that amount, then you're investing in the stock market, but it's not going to do anything to your net worth because your debt is going to be continuing to grow. So as I said there, once you've reached stage 6, that's when you really want to be focusing a lot more on your Roth IRA. So let's talk about the 4 steps to investing in the stock market. Step number 1, you choose a brokerage firm. Step number 2, you choose an account. Step number 3, you make your contributions. Step number 4, you choose your assets. There are over 3,000 different brokerage firms that you can choose from. I have investment accounts with Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, and E-Trade, which is why I placed them there. I included Betterment, Public, and Robinhood because those are brokerage firms that other people have shared. Choosing a brokerage firm, that should be really quick, everybody. I think we all, when you're like 3,000 to choose from, a veces we'll get into like, well, I want to do the best one. What's the right one? I think for a lot of people, the best one is going to be Fidelity if you are investing less than $1,000 at a time. Vanguard has great affordable options in terms of investment choices. However, Vanguard requires you to invest at least $1,000 or $3,000 to make your first investments. Second is you're going to choose an account. And like we said, there's a lot of different accounts out there, right? You're possibly already investing in your 401a, your 401k, your employer retirement account, and your employer might give you the option to do a 401k or a Roth 401k. These are all, like I said, different type of accounts. Each of these accounts have different rules around how much you can contribute, when you can pull the money out, and how your investments are taxed. We have retirement accounts. We have custodial accounts. Those are accounts for minors. So for the person who is like, hey, I want to be investing for my nieces and nephews, these are some investment options. We also have the employer-sponsored retirement accounts. We have tax-advantaged health or education accounts, so the 529s or an ESA. And then we also have a taxable brokerage account, where this is not going to have any contribution limits, no withdrawals for pulling out your money, but you also are going to have to pay taxes on the dividends and the capital gains, so every single year. Versus some of these are like a 529 account, you don't have to worry about paying taxes on these accounts as they grow, neither here. Over here, when it comes to the UGMA or UPMA custodial accounts, you will have to start to pay taxes after you surpass what's called the kitty tax. The custodial Roth IRA, you don't have to pay taxes on those or any of these as it grows. Let me check to see if you guys have questions. Okay. Oh, Marvin, I'm so happy that you listened to the Wealth Para Todos podcast. That makes me so happy. And you're currently on episode 11. I'm still struggling with sinking funds, not necessarily what it is, but what platform to use to track that specific spending. Do I need to open multiple checking accounts to track them, each line item in a sinking fund? No, you don't have to. Well, first of all, we want to make sure that you have a high yield savings account. I personally use Ally. I love Ally so much. However, something y'all should know is that Ally doesn't have the highest interest rate out there right now. Ally's interest rate is 3.5%. The reason why it really works for me is because they have a bucket feature. And in this bucket feature, you get to, I kind of want to show you in an app. Let me see if I can share my screen. Come on. Let's see. All right, here we go. In Ally, you get to, let's see, we call it buckets. So I have so many buckets. You get to have, I think you can have like up to 30 buckets in there. And when you set up these buckets, I want to like show you a picture. If I wasn't putting this on YouTube, I would just open up my account and show it to you, Marvin. That's usually what I do during Wealth Para Todos Academy. But since it's going on YouTube and I don't want to give my husband a heart attack, we're not going to do that today. So this is an example of what they look like. You have like these different categories right here, where it's emergencies, home, vacations, wedding, education, and you get to label them. And then you get to set up a goal for each one. And let's say the goal is 500 and you'll see when it's marked up. And then they send you an email when they tell you like, oh, you're at 50% or you're at 100% for something. That little feature, as somebody who has ADHD, made saving fun for me. I was very quick to want to eliminate my student loan debt. It was hard for me to save money like that. I grew up with my mom always telling me, el dinero se hizo para gastar, money is meant to be spent. So it was hard for me to learn how to save and keep it on there. But now I like to have my little buckets here. I like to see what the progress is on each one, and it gamified it for me. So that is why I really like Ally. And I continue to use it, even though it doesn't have the highest yield, the highest interest rate out there. I think like I said, it's around 3.5. If you wanted to open up an account with them, you just go here to opening up a savings account and you get it done really, really quick. Open an account. Okay, Marvin, I hope that answers your question. Yeah, all the money will grow together. And that's something that I kind of like. Like I have, I've been saving for taxes for this year, and I have to pay $65,000 in taxes. So obviously, like my high yield savings account has a lot of money in there. And because I've been keeping the money in there, and as a result of doing that, I have earned like $2,000 in interest this year, and it's all of it together. So that's a nice feature. All right, back to our slides here. So we talked about an accounts. Once you open up these accounts, that's the second step. You make your contributions. Your contributions are going to be a reflection of, one, your goals, what you're trying to do in terms, are you trying to max it out? How much are you trying to invest based on, how much money you need when you want to retire or when you use it, but also the contribution limits. They all vary. And we talked about this a little bit. This is a typo. This should say 23,500. And again, all accounts have different limits. Then you're going to choose your assets. One of you said, hey, I already opened up my Roth IRA. I have money in there, but I still haven't chosen my assets. I think this is the part that gets really scary. I remember when I opened up my Roth IRA, I put $2,000 in there, and then it just sat there. And it sat there for a while because I was so scared of how I was going to choose my investments. Very common, very normal. Okay. These are your different options, right? You could do individual stocks, you can do ETFs, you can do index funds, target date funds, REITs, mutual funds. I think the important thing to remember is the following. What is considered a good rate of return on investments? So there is a historical average where the stock market over the long term, the US stock market, the S&P 500, our top 500 companies, has returned about 7 to 10% annually after inflation. So that's often used as a benchmark. You want to make sure that when you check your investments that you are getting at least 7 to 10% rate of return on average. Now, when it comes to bonds, that's going to be lower, and that's usually 3 to 5%. So I want you guys to keep this in mind, right? Like my high yield savings account has let me pull this up, mutual fund calculator. My high yield savings account has like 100 and something in there because I have my emergency fund, plus I have those not the property taxes, my federal taxes that I'm going to have to pay. So right now, I want to say it has like 112,000 in there. And I'm not necessarily contributing anything else. And let's just say like the 1 year. And my rate of return, because it's an ally, right? An ally has a percentage right now. Their rate of return is 3.5. Okay. It's 3.5. And I don't pay any fees for that. So we can see, oh, this isn't a really good option. You'll see here that with the 3.5 rate of return, that my money after 1 year will grow from $112,000 to $115,920. So basically it grows $3,920 in 1 year. But when we're talking about investing and having a rate of return around 7% or 10%, right? Let's say I had all that money, the money that I'm saving for my federal taxes, my emergency fund, my 6-month emergency fund, plus my sinking funds. Let's say I put that in a Roth IRA, which if you're saying like, how would you do that if the maximum contributions are 7,000? Just play with me for a second, okay? Let's pretend that I had it in a Roth IRA, that I've been putting that money in there, and then it was invested. And instead of that 3.5% rate of return, I had the 7% rate of return. And let's say I even chose to invest it in let's say the S&P 500 in a fund that has a 0% expense ratio. Well, now that 112 would grow by 7,840. Okay. So again, the power of having that higher rate of return. And if we had a rate of return of closer to 10, well, then it could grow by, even more, like 11,200 in 1 year. So again, the power of compound growth. So this is what I want you to keep in mind when you guys are asking yourselves, is my Roth IRA good? Is my progress all right? You want to be comparing it to that 7 to 10% annual rate of return. You want to make sure that your fees are low. And it says this, if you have an average, right? So like if you are blending stocks and bonds together in your portfolio, then understand that your rate of return is going to be a lot lower. 5 to 7%. And maybe you're going to want to do that because you plan to pull out the money sooner than later. Questions, you guys let me know. All right. So to open up a Roth IRA, you're going to just follow these 4 steps. You're going to choose a brokerage firm. Like I said, I have these here because I have accounts with each of them. You could obviously choose a different one if you wanted to. Second, you'll go to these and you'll choose a Roth IRA as long as you qualify. Something to keep in mind is that here. Your income, in order to contribute directly to a Roth IRA, you need to make sure that you're making less than these amounts of money. If you are single head of household, you need to be making less than $146,000 a year to be able to contribute to the limit of a Roth IRA. If you're married filing jointly, you need to be making less than $230,000. Husband and I, we worked really, really hard to focus on increasing our income by a lot. We now make too much money to invest directly into a Roth IRA, and we have to do something called a backdoor Roth IRA, which just means we put the money in a traditional IRA and then we roll it over into a Roth IRA. Okay, so even though I like, you'll have to do that extra step if you're making too much money, but you could still invest in a Roth IRA. What do you recommend in terms of investing in different funds? If you have multiple Roth IRAs, should I invest in the same in all? Okay, you should not have multiple Roth IRAs because at the end of the day, you are going to only want, you want to make sure that you don't surpass the contribution limit. So one Roth IRA, you could have multiple investment accounts, right? Like you might have a Roth IRA, a 401k, and a taxable brokerage account. However, in your one Roth IRA, you don't need multiple ones because there's a maximum in terms of contribution limits. Am I allowed to have a 403A, 403B, and a Roth IRA? You are, but when it comes to your 403A and your 403B combined, those contributions cannot be more than $23,500. Okay, so you have to remember, like back here where we were talking about like the contribution limits, you have to keep that in mind here and what's like the most that you can contribute. Okay. Yeah. You have a Roth IRA and 2 employer retirement accounts. Yeah. And they're like, this is where things start to become very personal, right? And what you're choosing in terms of your assets. I'm somebody who, like with my clients, I'll share with them, I'll show them exactly what I'm invested in, not because it's like, oh, you should invest in this too, but just the transparency, the education around it, right? Everybody, all of us want to make sure that we have the highest rate of return. I think in general, the way I tell people is like, I am in general heavily invested in stocks. I have a high risk tolerance. I am okay with like, I minimize the amount that I put in bonds. In fact, a lot of my portfolios, I'm not even buying bonds in them unless it's in a target date fund. I go stocks. Now, I don't do so many individual stocks. I do index funds. So index funds allow me to invest in several, a variety of companies. Sometimes that's the total stock market. But I have started to like move away from investing in the total stock market because of like my own personal choices of not wanting to fund wars and anything related to ICE. Okay. The S&P 500 and then here it gets all complicated because it's going to bring up your values and then you're going to get sad because it's like, oh, there's things that is like, we're living in a capitalist country, and that means that there's certain things that we have to make choices on, right? Like I might not be shopping at Target right now, and I might be participating in that boycott, but I'm investing in Target in my portfolio. So I just want to name that part too. Okay. So we talked about your assets. The key thing here is understanding your rate of returns. I want to show you what that looks like in Vanguard because one of you asked what type of account, what type of an IRA should I open? There's so many choices. So if you look here in Vanguard, you are, okay, you'll see here, open a new account. And then you'll have an investment account. And you'll say that you want to invest on your own. And then it's going to start to give you what your options are. Hopefully, select your account. And then just, it tells you like it's going to take about 5 to 10 minutes. The first thing they have you do is select your account. So there's the traditional IRA, there's a Roth IRA account. There's just this one Roth IRA, traditional IRA. Now, these parts say that they have this cash plus bundle. So what it's saying is that you not only will you open up your Roth IRA, but it's kind of like you're opening up also like a high yield savings account. Okay. So that's why it's showing up like, oh, so many choices here. But you could also just go with this one. Like if you're not going to have your high yield savings account with Vanguard, then just go with the Roth IRA here. I do want to say that, yeah, there's a lot of account options here. This is like a SEP IRA for the self-employed. But if you're focused on opening up a Roth IRA, then the simple thing you would just do is here, this one, if you're going with Vanguard, or if you're getting a custodial IRA, then you would do a minor IRA. For the person who entered that question, who said like, there's so many choices, you were not lying. Vanguard really does provide a lot of choices. All right, well, then you're going to make your contributions. Like we said, the maximum is going to vary based on your age, and then you choose your assets. When it comes to your assets, come on. We'll just, okay. When it comes to your assets, we could look over here. Like I said, I kind of like fidelity when it comes to assets. Like let's say that you wanted to invest in the S&P 500. You could click S&P 500 here. That is one index fund. It looks like, no, it's an ETF. All right, this is the ticker symbol. One of you asked questions about a ticker symbol. You need to know the ticker symbol because that's how you're going to buy what you want. Key things you want to look for is the rate of return, which on this specific, and I think this is also where things get a little like tricky because every brokerage firm is going to display their information differently. If we look here, you can see the expense ratio, but we can quickly see here what the rate of return has been on this ETF. And I don't like that. Oh, here we go. 10 years. No, but we're still not getting a percentage. So what I would do if I cannot, I'll just go through like an S&P 500 index fund with Fidelity. So this is the ticker symbol, FXAIX. We can then search that here. And you'll notice here now we have a rate of return. We always want to look at the longest amount of time. This year, it has had a rate of return of 15%. But remember, we're looking at average, right? So the longer amount of time is the better. This is 14.59% rate of return. We love that. The return is high. The expense ratios are low. And that's important because remember when we were looking at this over here, if we start changing the inputting the rate of return and the expense ratio, then we can start to see like, oh, how much is it going to cost us to invest in this investment? So notice that one, like it only costs $16.80 for the entire year with that balance. And that becomes important, right? Knowing your expense ratios, because just like the money inside your account compounds, so do the fees. And so if we looked at this for, I'm just going to change this to a different number, $10,000. And no, we're going to say $0. And let's say everybody here is going to start maxing out their Roth IRAs for $7,000. And let's say that everyone here is choosing to invest only in the S&P 500. You guys have a high risk tolerance. You're cool with going all stocks. Okay, so we have a 14.59% rate of return, a 0.015 expense ratio, and we say we're going to commit to doing that for the next 10 years. So that means you will have contributed $70,000, and that money will grow to this amount. You'll see here the cost of fees, very little, minimal. We love that for us. If we look at this for 30 years, you contributed, well, no, this starts to change because this means that you're also contributing more every single year. Well, now if you can do 7,000 for the next 30 years, you have $3.2 million. And you only spent this amount in fees. Let me look at the chat to see if you guys have any questions. Okay, no questions. You could do a target date fund, index funds, ETFs. They vary. I think the key information I want you guys all to be looking at is like, what are your annual rate of returns for your stocks? It should be between 7 to 10%. For the bonds, 3 to 5%. If you have a blended portfolio, 5 to 7%. That's how you can check whether your investments, and then it just becomes a lot more personal. Is a 7,000 contribution limit on a Roth IRA for the 12-month calendar year or based on the tax calendar? It is based on the tax calendar, Jessica. So you have until tax day, April 15th, to max it out for 2025. All right, to open a Roth IRA for a loved one, you would just follow the same exact steps. So here you would just make sure you choose your brokerage firm. You choose the Roth IRA. If it's for your partner, you're just like opening up the Roth IRA with their information. If it's for a minor, then you're going to make sure that they have earned income. And then you are going to put in their information. You make a contribution. You choose your assets. If you are married and filing your taxes jointly, you don't have to have your personal income. You could just use your spouse's income. And it's just the same steps. Jennifer's asked, do you change your investments once in a while? It depends. Some people do a target date fund and they keep their target date fund forever, and then they don't have to worry about rebalancing their portfolio because a target date fund does that for you automatically. For people who do their own index fund portfolio, then maybe they do change it up, right? Like maybe they're okay with having a lot of stocks in the beginning, and as they get older, they want to have bonds. And then there's people like me. I am somebody who definitely just plans to do a heavy portfolio stocks for a long period of time. I'm really trying to leave money behind for my kids. Jennifer, let me know if that answers your question. Okay, so we're at 11:52. I want to let all of you know that I do offer one-on-one coaching. And the investment for money and self-care coaching is one payment of $4,111 or 4 payments of $1,010. You get 12 one-on-one coaching calls with me. They're 45 minutes long. In between our calls, I'm also supporting you via WhatsApp. And you also get access to 12 months of Wealth para Todos Academy. That is my group coaching program that consists of 9 live coaching calls every single month, plus a curriculum, plus a one-on-one check-in to review your portfolio. This is the link that you can use to schedule that one-on-one call. Okay. This, so you can see like what my availability is, and then you would just click on there, choose a time for us to talk. You let me know how you found out about what you're looking for and what you're trying to take away, right? And my goal for everybody who works with me one-on-one is to make sure that you're increasing in terms of your stages of financial security, that you're able to max out your Roth IRA for yourself and a loved one. I work with all of my clients on helping them increase their income. Even my clients who come to me, like I have a client who came to me with, I want to say like over $100,000 just in savings, didn't know how to invest in the stock market, wanted support. Even her, She said that she wants to retire as soon as possible. So then I was like, okay, let's start. We reviewed her accounts. We reviewed what she was investing in. We helped her set up all of her wealth building accounts, set her up to max out these accounts, have those systems in place, automatic automations. But then if she's telling me like, hey, I want to retire, I want to retire as soon as possible, then even her, I was like, okay, let's work on increasing your income in a way that honors your wellness. I'm a money and self-care coach, right? But increase your income so that you could invest more, so you could pay off your debt faster, so that you could save faster, so that you could spend on more self-care. All right, so that is my one-on-one coaching. I encourage you, if you're even just a little curious, book a call. Let's talk about how working together could serve you. Vicky says, Wealth para Todos is such a great investment. I miss being part of the academy. We are going to open up again. You guys are actually the first ones to hear about this publicly. We will be opening up on December 29th. I'll let you guys know. I feel like I'm like telling a secret because I haven't told anyone about this except current members of Wealth para Todos Academy. So it is going to open up December 29th. And we will close on January 4th. There is going to be a juicy 24-hour bonus. And the cost will be $1,111 if you pay in full. And then, or you could do 5 payments of $235. I think, okay, don't quote me on this. Like I said, it's not even public information, but just because Marvin asked that question, I dropped it here in the chat. Okay. And then, did I erase one of my slides? No, I didn't. We have 4 minutes left. I am totally down to answer additional questions if you guys have them. Oh, look at, why is this acting weird? Okay, well, thank you for attending September's 2025 Roth IRA office hours. Let's stay connected. Like I said, the Wealth para Todos podcast comes out every Sunday. Follow me on Instagram. If you DM me on Instagram, it's going to be me who responds cuando tengo tiempo. I'm also on Threads. I'm also on LinkedIn. And I have an email list where you can get additional information about Roth IRAs. All right, we still have 4 minutes. So I am totally available to answer more questions if you guys have them. I'm just going to close this so I can look at the chat. If I want to retire early, can one depend on a Roth IRA to live off on before one's pension hits? Ooh, good question. Okay, so Marvin, you have to give me a little bit more information about yourself. I need to know how old you are right now. I need to know how much you currently have invested and at what age you want to retire. Your Roth IRA, you can't start pulling money from that until you're 59 and a half. So if you're trying to retire before the age of 59 and a half, you're going to want to have other sources of income. That could be income that comes from a taxable brokerage account. That could also mean like if you buy, like for me, part of my income is going to come from real estate and rental. I have this house and then I'm building a little studio that at some point I plan on renting out, and that's going to be another source of income. Vicky, I'm glad you liked the latest episode. Do you have any books you recommend to learn more about this? Yes. If you want to learn specifically about investing, my number one book recommendation. Actually, you know what? I have a whole list of books that I think on here that I might just be able to pull up for you really quickly. If I can't find it here real quickly, then I'll make sure to post it on my Instagram. There's books that I have been featured in. So I have this Overcoming Debt book with, I was quoted in this book. My friend Cindy wrote this book. So Overcoming Debt, Achieving Financial Freedom. I talk about my loved one emergency fund there. I was also quoted in this book, Happy Money, Happy Life. And I was also quoted in this book, Ask Questions, Save Money, Make More by Matt. So those are books that I personally have been quoted in terms of like, if you like the whole, how I talk about dinero in terms of financial security and also wellness. And then there's these books right here. Okay. These are all written by Black and Indigenous people of color. I really like Linda Garcia's book. We'll talk about money mindset. Her Money Matters Too is another good one. Gigi has a great, like these are all great books. All great books. If you want to focus on early retirement, this book is really good for early retirement. Yeah, these are, let me give you a public view of this. So then you can just refer to this list later. You have books you could recommend. Elena and Carlos. Here's this one. Now, a book that I don't have on here that I do recommend is The Simple Path to Wealth. This is a good one for investing in the stock market. Okay. It looks like this. If you want to create your own portfolio, minimize the fees that you're paying and getting them as low as possible, this is a great book. The Simple Path to Wealth is another one that can serve you. The discovery call does not have a fee, Marvin. It is 45 minutes free. And it's to really see whether you should move forward with coaching, with one-on-one coaching. And Vicky provided is also saying that those book links are good books. All right, y'all, it is 12 o'clock. It was a good time talking dinero with all of you today. If you have more questions, sign up for the next Roth IRA office hours. I host these every single Tuesday. If this served you, let people know. Let people know so that they sign up. And, if questions come your way, feel free to send me emails. I will probably just create some content for you to support you. All right. Hasta luego.
Thank you. Bye, Soledad.
Bye.